And now I would like to move briefly and smoothly to the main part of my today's speech. So I would like to talk to you about two main points. Firstly, about the migration and refugee crisis in Europe or in the EU. Then what the EU level response to the crisis was and is it successful or not? And then I would like to give you the floor to discuss the main points from our presentation. So let me start with some quotations. Some quotations that can easily introduce us to the topic of the crisis, of the migration and refugee crisis, and at the same time that refer to the relations between two EU countries, Germany and Poland. This is quotation taken from one of the recent publications by two Polish authors from March 2017. And what they say that constructive Polish-German cooperation on European issues is today in the mutual interest of both Poland and Germany. Why? Because each country has its purposes or its interests. In case of Poland, it's about its stronger position in the EU, because Poland is outside of the EU, is not a member of EU Eurozone. And on the other side, we have Germany that needs, that should be supported by an important partner in its leadership in the EU. And in general, we can identify three key stress test areas to Polish-German relations currently. So firstly, this is about the Eurozone integration. Then it's about the EU foreign policy concerning Eastern Europe and Russia. And finally, this is about the EU asylum policy. Another quotation, another idea that is very close and in line with what I've just said. This is taken from the publication by Professor Colette Mazzucchelli, and she said this in September 2015. So in the beginning of the migrant and refugee crisis, that the EU, with its focus in work on the problems with Greece in the Eurozone, is being overtaken by a much deeper crisis. And this is the crisis I'm interested in nowadays, and I would like to talk to you about. So this is the migrant and refugee crisis. And what we need in this case is the involvement of the all EU member states. This is confirmed by another point of view expressed by both Professor Colette Mazzucchelli and another author, Anna Visvisi from the American College of Greece. And this is also a quotation published in September 2015. And here I would like to attract your attention to 2 points. Firstly, that even if Poland and Germany have two different perspectives how to deal with the migrant and the refugee crisis, they could potentially find a common voice and a common solutions. And it could be profitable for both of them. It was stated in September 2015. What happened later, I will show you in a while. So firstly, if we look at different sources, media, scientific publications, political discussions, specifically in Europe, we can find different expressions to describe the crisis that we have or we have had in Europe. Sometimes it's called migration crisis, sometimes refugee crisis, mixed migration crisis. Also, some authors refer to it as an asylum crisis or humanitarian or finally solidarity crisis. So just to conclude, this is a multi-dimensional crisis, and everyone has right, because it depends on the lenses we use to interpret this phenomenon. So it's not only about the scope of the crisis, this is also about its geographical context. Is it EU crisis? Is it only about the EU member states? Or maybe this is a broader crisis, maybe this is about Europe, so maybe European crisis. And finally, and this approach I support, this is simply Mediterranean crisis, because it's not only about the migrant receiving countries, this is also about migrant sending countries, for example in Africa and in the Middle East, but it's also about the transit countries. The best example we have nowadays is Turkey, where we can find many temporary refugee camps. Migration and refugee is not something new for us in Europe, because in fact if we look at the European history, we've been experiencing migration since many decades. The truth is that the scale and pace of migration to Europe intensified and increased significantly after 2010. And then also the term crisis started to be used. And firstly, it was used by media, then it was used by politicians, and finally it was included to the academic debate. Very often we ask ourselves in Europe when the migration, refugee or asylum crisis starts. So the truth is that there is no one year that could be considered as the beginning. It depends on the perspective we apply. So usually what I'm trying to stress is the year 2014, because this was the very first year when on a year-to-year basis the numbers of people on the move in the Mediterranean region increased significantly. And these numbers are reported by different international bodies and organizations working on migration issues. So this is, for example, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, International Organization for Migration, Frontex, or European Asylum Support Office. If we assume that 2014, this is the beginning of the crisis, then we can say that 2015, so far at least, was the peak year of the crisis. Then we have 2016, when we can observe a significant decrease in the number of people moving to Europe. And finally, we have late 2017. And we can observe less and less information about migrant and refugee crisis in media. Why is it so? It means that we are facing the end of the crisis, or maybe we have other priorities on the EU agenda currently, for example, Brexit.